Still says, oh, there it goes.
All right. There we go. We are live.
Welcome back.
Another, yes. Welcome to another week of the Amazon Seller News Live.
Woohoo.
Uh, got myself again and Danon from Trace Fuse. So we're going to have another fun show. We've got some pretty cool topics coming up today, I think.
Some deep topics, I think.
Yes, for sure. So let's see. We've got a comment from Jackson who was with us last week. He says, "Word up, guys." So
Welcome
the
back, Jackson.
stream is working. Appreciate you joining us, Jackson.
Cool.
All right. So let's go ahead. We'll just dive into the first topic here right away.
Let's do it.
Jump over to my screen share. So, first topic here from reported from e-commerce bites, and I'll just read over a quick summary here. But intense competition and IP issues among e-commerce giants. So, U.S. sellers, particularly those specializing in handmade and vintage items, are increasingly under pressure as they face competition from low-priced, low-quality imitations on platforms like Temu and Shine. These two Asian e commerce giants are themselves struggling with fierce competition against each other, and they're engaging in lawsuits over accusations of encouraging IP infringement and counterfeiting. The race to the bottom in pricing is making it hard for US sellers to stand out, especially on platforms like Etsy, which now accommodate mass produced items labeled as designed by handmade. This blurring of lines between genuine handmade products and factory made goods complicates the market for shoppers committed to shopping local businesses. So, Dan, your thoughts on Temu and Shen mad at each other and accusing each other of counterfeiting and IP infringement?
I think, well, first of all, I think this is nothing new in terms of what's happening. This is just the latest version of it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's probably good for the market that they're duking it out on this, but it's definitely a problem because they have the marketing dollars to get all of these customers, right? And so does it affect small businesses? It does definitely because there's always going to be a percentage of people that don't want the quality, they just want that low dollar item, right?
Mhm.
But I would wager that this is also going to usher in over time, usher in a market of people that go, "Okay, I'm done with this. Like, I don't know what I'm getting. I can't tell whether this is fake or real. I'm gonna go direct to the source," right?
Mhm.
So, Etsy has long been a platform for handmade items, and if those sellers could get a little bit more sophisticated in their e-com and post their stuff in more places that are legitimate platforms, I think that there's always going to be a percentage of the market that's just where they're going to go. They know that they want something legitimate and they're going to go looking for it. The problem is going to be being found, right? Because
Mhm.
you do a Google search, you're going to have these massive corporations that are pouring millions of dollars into marketing. They're going to have to sift through that to find these these legitimate products, right?
Yeah.
But I firmly believe that there's a market for that. Like just like there is for made in the US, for instance, right? There's always going to be someone that goes, I can have this made outside of the US, I can have the same thing made in the US, and the chances of it being higher quality are going to be much greater than if it were made outside the US. So is it a problem? It is. But as you approach the bottom, there's going to be a very stark difference between the price, and as long as these other sellers can appropriately communicate that this is a legitimate item, like I made this myself, you're looking at the inventor, the creator, etc. I think that there's always going to be a market for those people that are looking for those products, but there's no question that it does affect them at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. There's always going to be people that want to buy local, buy made
Mhm.
in the USA. I am definitely one of those people. I try to do
Same.
that as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I think the funny thing about this is that so Temu and Shine are 9 times out of 10, a lot of the products on there are basically exact copies of something else. They stole somebody else's IP.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
literally take an entire listing from Amazon and copy and paste it over to their platform, and now they're
Oh, I didn't know that.
yelling at each other about one stealing the IP of the other. So I
So
think it's kind of turnabout is fair play kind of thing here.
yeah, so are you basically saying they're upset at each other for stealing stolen property?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
They're
making sure
upset at
we're
each other for stealing each other's intellectual property, all
yeah.
the while they're stealing Amazon's and Etsy's and eBay's intellectual property and putting
Yeah.
it up on their platforms.
Yeah, I mean, no question. I think that I have to say, I think that the model that they're using to drive traffic is very brilliant, right?
Mhm.
They're leveraging a lot of influencers and they're leveraging a lot of marketing dollars as well. But I just no, this is my own opinion, and I don't know if this is the general consensus, but to me, it's all just knockoff stuff. Now, do you remember
Mhm.
the old days of eBay where it was like, "Hey, I'm selling you this vintage thing," or I no longer need this item." And then as eBay got really, really big in like the early 2000s, you started seeing a whole bunch of cheap products and full-blown stores of cheap products. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So at that
No.
time, to me as a consumer, eBay became untrustworthy to the degree that if I did a search, the the all the first listings were from these huge companies that could afford to be there,
Mhm.
and I had to sift through it to find exactly what I was looking for. So, I'll give you a perfect example. If I went to look for a part for my rover, right? There's just gonna be so many listings of these cheap knockoff products, and I've
Yep.
gotta find the person that has a junkyard, right, that's selling the part that I need or something along those lines, or it's some vehicle somebody had a vehicle and they're parting it out, right? And it's
Mhm.
hard to find those now, and that's what like, I stopped using eBay after that, and that's at the time that Amazon came up, and Amazon had tons of legitimate sellers and home like home known products and stuff like that, but now we see a huge influx of these cheap products on Amazon, right? And then after Amazon got that coming in, we're seeing these other platforms that are dedicated to those types of products. So I think we're not long for seeing a shift in the market where people go, all right, that's it. I don't trust these marketplaces like I used to. I'm
Yep.
going to this other place that I do trust. So that'll be I would wager people's personal Shopify stores or business Shopify stores, product Shopify stores, and other marketplaces where they go, okay, I trust what is being sold here because there's a degree of quality control.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that they're kind of destroying themselves like eBay, like you said. I used to shop on eBay all the time.
Yeah,
And then
it's
I
awesome.
moved over and started buying more and more on Amazon. But when I needed a part for something, I would still always go to eBay, or if
Mm,
I needed some kind of, like anything used, I would always go to eBay.
yeah,
But like you said, now even that is almost impossible because you do a search for a specific part and you get 1,000 listings,
yeah,
and half of them are, well, 90% of them are just knockoffs coming from China or whatever the case may be, and
yeah,
it made it extremely difficult to find what you need. So to
yeah.
the point where now I search for that stuff first on Amazon, and if I can't find it,
Mhm.
then I jump over to eBay and dig into it a little bit.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
even had to speaking of automotive parts, you even had companies start promoting products as OEM, which is
Mhm.
original equipment manufacturer. So they they would say it's OEM, and then
Yes.
somewhere in the content is OEM fit, right? But it's not actually an original equipment part unless you see that Land Rover badge or that Toyota badge or whatever badge, and it has the official part number, but they'll even promote on the official part numbers because that's what people are searching for, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's really annoying, and I think that definitely
Mhm.
led to kind of the demise of eBay and the rise of
Agreed.
Amazon.
Yep.
Amazon was also better for the consumer side because if you search for a product, instead of having 1,000 pages for the same product, you had one on Amazon. So I think
Yeah,
that
that
made it easier as well.
yes.
But it was still kind of fun to go to eBay and, look for deals and stuff like that on
Yeah.
there, where
Yeah.
that's kind of even gone away as well.
Has
And
it?
Etsy kind of took that market a little bit, at least for handmade things and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And they built a really big following for local handmade stuff. It was kind of like you're going to a farmer's market
Yeah.
in your hometown,
Yeah.
and but it's online essentially is what they
Yes.
made, right? And now
Yes.
they're ruining that as well, just like eBay, by opening it up to designed by, and now you got a flood of these mass produced items on there,
Yep.
overshadowing all of the real local handmade stuff.
Yeah. So actually, I hadn't even thought about that because I don't actually shop on Etsy myself, but I have a couple of times.
Well, I
But
bought, if you see over my shoulder here, this
yeah,
sign,
yeah.
I bought that on Etsy. And so things like that, I still go to Etsy if I want something custom made
Ah,
over Amazon. But I think they're losing that market even
really?
to Amazon as well, because people are getting that you go on there and it's just an overwhelm of listings.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate. The last time I was on Etsy, I don't know how this person did this, but I was searching for handmade knives, and then this person reached out to me saying, "Hey, you're looking for handmade knives. I make handmade knives, but this is a manufacturer out of Pakistan." I don't know
Mhm.
how they got my contact deals, but it was immediately after I was searching on it on Etsy for them.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, yeah, it's I think it's just the evolution of e-com right now because it's happening. You have these websites, they start out really good, really legitimate, and then they just open the floodgates to all manner because let's be honest, that's how they make money.
Yep. Yeah, and it's, it is the burden of becoming too big.
Yeah,
And, because Etsy, I believe Etsy is a public company. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but
don't know.
once you go public and you start getting bigger, there's the constant burden of having to get more and more returns and go bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
And so instead of staying an awesome niche e-commerce site like Etsy could do, they are trying to grow outside of what made them successful. And
yes,
in the end, I think it's going to kind of just end up hurting them in the long run. Maybe it'll help their, share price in the short term, but in the long
right.
run, I think it's just going to end up hurting them.
Yeah, and I just checked, Etsy is a publicly traded company.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, you're seeing kind of the same thing with Amazon, right?
yep,
They're becoming so big and so
they have
burdensome
become.
and bureaucratic that you can't get any support.
Yeah,
They're trying to be everything to everyone, and when
mhm.
companies get to that size,
They
they
get
can
diluted.
end up struggling, and competition like Temu and Shine can come in and start stealing some of their market share.
Yeah, but at the same time, from a shareholder investor perspective, they are making gabajillions of dollars, you know?
Yes. But that's the I don't know,
Trade-off.
poison pill, if you want to call it,
Yeah,
or whatever, when you go public, because it really becomes a lot more about just increasing profits at all costs
yeah,
instead of building a successful business and serving your customers like Jeff
exactly.
Bezos started to do in his garage back in 1999,
Yeah, and even when you and I started selling on Amazon, they had very good seller support. Very good.
Yep.
You were able
Absolutely.
to set up a call or just call directly and get issues resolved on the spot.
Yep.
And those days are so gone. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but you have these sellers that they go, "Yeah, I've contacted support 10 times to resolve this issue," and it just goes nowhere. So
Yep.
I think, do you remember when they were just resolving cases without ever answering? It's like, "Your case has been resolved. Your case has been resolved."
Oh
I
yeah.
I found out that that was because they moved everything over to offshore. I think they had it offshore, but they moved it to some other team or something like that, and their metrics were based on how quickly they could resolve a case, and so
Mhm.
they just click resolve, 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 and I believe that Amazon's taken action to resolve that, but, yeah, I don't know, the general world of cases on Amazon, I don't know how it's going overall. We
Yeah.
don't My wife and I, we don't put a lot of cases through.
Yeah. We do quite a few, and
Do you?
it's frustrating. It's you're you're always at least gonna have
Problems?
minimum 2 replies back and forth, because the first time
Mm,
is usually a nonsense reply and they close
yeah,
the case.
mm,
And then you gotta reopen it and be like, "No, this is what we're talking about."
yeah.
And it feels like they do it on purpose most of the
Well,
time. They
I'm
misunderstand what you're talking about just so they can close the case.
I am almost certain of it. If you think about it, it if they just decline the majority, if first action is to decline it or do some nonsense reply, I would wager that they probably eliminate 50% or more of their cases without having to actually take any action.
Yeah. Probably. I would
Mm,
I would say so. That sounds like a fair estimate.
yeah.
But, back to what we were talking
Yep.
about with, the race to the bottom, in
Mhm.
this article, it's you can't really blame Amazon, Etsy, eBay, because at least half of the customers, they want just the cheap stuff,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe even more than half.
Maybe they don't know what they're actually buying, from Shimun Tin could potentially be poisonous and it's probably going to break in a day and a half. But
Right.
and maybe that will come back to bite them as people learn these things and how,
I
garbage some of the products are.
Yeah.
Clothing is a little easier because you can make a piece of clothing that'll last you for a few months pretty cheaply and pretty easily. And that's the biggest market in both of these platforms, I believe.
Is it? Okay.
And it goes down from there. I believe I seen a graph. I believe it was clothing and then like home goods,
Mhm.
and it might have been electronics, and then it kind of tailed off from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, it's people like cheap stuff,
It's true. Well,
and they'll just
people like
buy
cheap
new stuff, I
prices.
guess. Yes, cheap prices,
Yeah.
not necessarily cheap stuff. And so maybe once they find out that they're getting really cheap stuff for the cheap prices, you'll kind of see a shift in that, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I mean, I myself I've gone to Harbor Freight to get a 10 millimeter socket rather than going to Snap-on, because at Harbor
Yeah,
Freight, a 10
for sure.
millimeter socket's $5, Snap-on's it's 30, you know what I mean? So, and I don't need it because I'm wrenching on a car all day long every single day. But yeah, by and large, me personally, I'd so much rather have the quality stuff that will just last me for as long as I need it to last me, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we'll just have to see where it goes
Yep.
and how it shakes out. But people got to be aware of what's going on and adjust their marketing and
Mm.
products to account for it.
Yeah.
Go for the higher quality, higher priced products is probably kind of the counter for it.
Yeah. It's always gonna be an ever shifting market no
Yep,
matter what.
for sure. All right, well, let's jump on to the next article here. So, Walmart's new fulfillment service rivals Amazon's dominance. So Walmart is expanding its logistics capabilities by opening its fulfillment services to third-party sellers across various platforms, including direct competitors like Amazon. This strategic move positions Walmart as a strong contender against Amazon's fulfillment by Amazon service, aiming to enhance the merchant and customer experience with comprehensive warehousing, delivery, and import services. So essentially, starting September 10th, anyone is going to be able to use Walmart's fulfillment services to fulfill on any platform, including Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Shopify, whatever the case may be. So just like Amazon's MCF, multi-channel fulfillment, Walmart is going to be opening up to the same thing. So thoughts on that, Dana?
Yeah, I think that's great. Amazon has had a lot of time to figure out logistics, right? I know that Walmart's been working on it, and I don't think they'd open this up until they had at least some semblance of I'm sure they beta tested it with large corporations, right? But I wonder if they're going to be able to provide the same facilities as quickly as Amazon can. With that being said, they will eventually figure it out. So I would wager that they're going to offer very competitive prices initially, and then as they get things figured out, they'll eke those prices up, but still, I would wager it would they'd maintain a degree of competitiveness against Amazon, because if you do fulfillment FBA through your Shopify store, like when I was doing that, I remember it'd take like 5 days, 7 days sometimes before they even boxed and shipped it. It's like, come on. It's like, just because I'm not my FBA product, it's to the customer in 2 days. But if I send it through this way and I'm still paying you, by the way, you take 5 times longer, 10 times longer. So I hope that Walmart has something like that, but then again, they're probably utilizing DHL, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and so they don't have their own delivery trucks on this. Or maybe, well, I've seen some, but maybe
they do. They have the Walmart Spark delivery. And so that's just like the Amazon delivery where they're outsourcing to people, consultants essentially, like Uber and Lyft does the same thing. And so you can sign up for Walmart Spark, take your car to one of their fulfillment centers, load it up with packages, and get paid to deliver those packages.
Okay, cool. Well, then they probably got a little ways to go, but that sounds pretty good to me. I would hope that their prices are quite competitive. That's going to be of course, in competition with other 3PLs in the market. If the prices get driven down so far that it doesn't make sense to use a 3PL, full disclosure, I'm not an Amazon, a Walmart seller. So I don't really know the ecosystem all that well, but if they can offer something very competitive to Amazon, I mean, I'd try it out for sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm definitely going to have to check it out on September 10th. I sell on Walmart a little bit, but I fulfill all my packages either through our warehouse locally or through Amazon FBA if I don't have it in our warehouse, which of course Walmart yells at us for that, but they haven't done anything to stop us from doing it yet. And what's interesting is they're launching this on September 10th, and it says in the news article that they will ship to Amazon customers for you. Good. So are they going to remove that requirement that you can't use Amazon to ship to Walmart's customers? Because otherwise there's a little bit of an issue there.
Maybe they'll take a while before they do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Or stop slapping people for it,
Yeah, at a minimum, they should. I mean, like I said, I keep getting the warnings about it, and that's been going on for months and months and months, and they've never taken our account down. So I think they know that they probably shouldn't do that, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, that's probably why they launched this in the first place, is because, well, we know people are doing that. Why don't we just accommodate them?
Yeah, for sure. But I read in the article that for Walmart, 2/3 of the products sold on Walmart.com are delivered with WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services.
Okay.
With Amazon, 90% of their packages that are sold on Amazon.com are delivered with FBA. fulfilled by
Right.
Amazon. So Walmart is catching
Yeah.
up in
Yeah.
terms of those metrics. And I think this is just another play to try to get more people to send into Walmart fulfillment services,
Yeah.
because they're like, hey, you can send it in here and it's not just stuck with walmart.com.
Yeah.
You can sell it on other platforms as well. So that's why one of the reasons they're opening it up.
Yeah, I think it's a good move personally. Eh, you and I have had conversations on this before. I think that as much competition as we can get into the market will eventually drive the prices down. And then we'll come to something that's actually fair, right? Because
Mhm.
Amazon over the years is all they've been doing is just raising rates, raising rates, raising rates, and which of course that eats into the margins of sellers like you and I. So whereas I used to have a 60% margin, I'm down to like 10, 12,
Mhm.
something like that on the same products.
Yeah. And we've talked about multiple times that somebody needs to step up and challenge Amazon's dominance, for the
Mhm.
simple fact that we need the competition to keep prices low
Yeah.
for not only consumers, but just as important, especially anybody listening, for sellers, and keeping
Yes.
seller fees down. And the only thing that's going to do that is competition.
Yep.
So, I could potentially see at some point Walmart opening up even a service to compete with AWD, Amazon's warehousing and distribution, which is what they're doing to compete with 3PLs. And
Mhm.
Walmart end up doing a similar kind of service where now
Yeah.
you're not paying those, long-term storage fees and high storage prices in Walmart fulfillment services, but you're using what would that be? Walmart
Whatever it
warehouse
is.
and distribution,
Yeah.
WWD.
WWD. Go
So
acronyms. I
we'll
feel like we're
see.
in the military now.
Yeah, they might have to choose something else. That's a little difficult to say, WWD.
So,
But
I if I understood the article correctly, they're also going to be offering direct from China, where they will take your
yes,
containers. Yeah?
yep, absolutely. So competing with AGL,
Yes.
Amazon's
Global
service to bring
logistics.
directly from China and Asia to Walmart fulfillment services.
Yeah. So that's gonna be huge for sellers because especially if they are able once again to compete on price. So I can't remember exactly what the scenario is, but I know that if you're using AGL, once again, Amazon Global Logistics, that you get some kind of a 10% uh, discount somewhere. So I think it effectively eliminates the fee to send inventory in. So, you know,
Mhm.
Amazon's just basically once again they're doing these things like, hey, use us, we'll pat you on the back, right?
Yep.
But it's still expensive, you know. But again, this is it. This is the market. This is we have to as sellers we have to know first thing we have to know what's there because then we can take some control over it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Walmart, of course, e-commerce wise, is still a fraction of the sales of Amazon.
Yeah. What's your
And
percentage? Because I typically hear it adds 10 to 20%.
somewhere around there. That's
Okay.
typically. So we're not using WFS yet,
Mm,
which I
mm.
should. I want to start doing it, but I've got to create that SOP for the warehouse to
Pl-
send that in. So that'll be a whole separate process, that they
Plus
got
have
to
the
work.
extra inventory.
Yes, exactly. But I think we could definitely increase our sales. So right now our sales are way less than 10% on there because we're just basically doing third party fulfillment.
Yeah.
But if we did WFS, I think it would increase to probably closer to, at least 5 to 10% of what we're doing on Amazon for those products.
Can't complain with an increase in sales.
No, definitely not. The question is, does it make up for, the entire
The
new
logistics,
logistics process that we have to set up in a
administration.
warehouse?
Yeah.
Because the software 2D workflow that we use to build out our Amazon shipments, doesn't support Walmart as well, at least yet. Maybe they will
Yeah.
at some point. So we got to use a new
It
service, train
yeah.
employees, and everything else.
It'll all come. I think that you will see these companies that have optimized for Amazon. They're going to have to optimize for other marketplaces as well. Otherwise, they're going to become obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. So we'll see. I think
Yeah.
at a minimum, I love the news. More
Mhm.
competition is good. I hope it takes off and people start
Mhm.
utilizing it. You know, even if it's just that, hey, I'm going to start fulfilling my Shopify and eBay orders from WFS instead of Amazon, and
Yeah.
that they start stealing some market share there, and it forces Amazon to be more competitive
Yep. I'm all for it. All for it.
for sure. So loving it indeed, and looking forward to seeing how it goes and seeing how it grows.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's jump on to the next article here. Zoom in on that a little bit. So
Oh, yes.
this one is over on LinkedIn from Luba, and basically decoding Amazon's new views metrics. So a summary of it here, Amazon's introduction of the views metrics in its search engine results page is stirring interest among sellers due to its implications on perceived product performance. Luba analysis reveals discrepancies between Amazon's displayed views and purchases, and the actual data showing the views metrics can sometimes be misleading.
Yep.
So the examples that she gives here, because Amazon is showing both the views sometimes, like the number of views that a product gets, and then they'll
Yeah.
also show the number of sales in a month that the product is getting.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at your competitors and you're saying, looking at, okay, they're getting this many views and this many sales, they're getting like a 30% conversion rate, is the
Yeah.
example she's showing here.
Yeah.
But if she actually looks at her real world data, it's a much lower figure than that, the actual conversion rates, because
Yep.
Amazon is not taking in various different ways that people are viewing the products when they're calculating those views.
Yeah. So, here are my thoughts on this. What's first thing, what's interesting to me is that she analyzed 3 products, and the metrics are are very different from each other, right? So
Mhm.
there doesn't seem to be a standard padding, if you will, on the stats here. What is interesting though is that where it says 300 bot, 50 bot, 300 plus, 50 plus, 600 plus, that is accurate to the degree that it's been more than that number, right? But as
Yep.
far as the views set to number bot, it's clearly very skewed. So I I wonder, why would they even do that? Why would they have numbers that are so blatantly off, not to the consumer, of course, but to the seller?
Mhm.
Those numbers don't make sense. The percentages are way different from each other, right? And I think it's good that they're showing the 300 plus bot and that is at least accurate. But I think what Amazon is trying to do here is utilize these numbers. In fact, I'm certain of it. They're utilizing these numbers to provide social proof to the people looking at the products, going, ah, okay, lots of people buy this. I'll buy it too.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. And for anybody that's, just looking or listening to this on the podcast later on, the first product that she talks about here, Amazon is saying it got 2,000 plus views and 300 plus purchases. And then her actual back end data shows that the product got 4,405 sessions, 5,749 page views, and 353 units sold. So Amazon is drastically underreporting the views.
Mm-hmm.
The bot is close to being correct.
Yep.
It is 300 plus. You're missing 53 units in there if you're just comparing that and trying to figure out what your competition is selling.
Yep.
But the views are way under for some reason.
Yeah, and let's take a look at product B here. It says 50 plus bot, but she's actually sold 137, so they're 87 units off, right? So I would
Mhm.
think that in that case, it would say 100 plus bot, right? So that brings to question, well, how often do they renew this, like review this and update that metric, right? It's it can't be daily, right? There has to be some sort of average. So maybe they're taking the trailing 30 days or the trailing 60 days or something like that. Um, I I have to assume that I think, are they displaying the last 30 days units bought? I
It
think they
usually
are.
says in the last 30 days, yes,
Okay.
and it does update relatively quickly.
Okay.
We had a recent launch of a product, and we watched the number bought, and it did correlate relatively well to, what had been purchased in the last 30 days. So it went from, showing nothing to then 50 plus, and then 100 plus, and the 150 plus, and 200 plus. And it was delayed by like a week,
Mhm.
but we could see those numbers go up as the launch continued to happen and more units sold.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, interesting. Well, it'll be very interesting to see where this goes and what other sorts of metrics, like they've been adding all kinds of new badges, right? In the last couple few years. I really think that this is in an effort to just make the customer more comfortable with making a buying decision, a purchasing decision. I think that's really all this is for. Because otherwise, why post these metrics at all? Because people buy based on reviews initially, right? Reviews and then features,
Yeah.
um, and perceived value, of course. So price, but I think they're just doing this to try and drive more sales. And I'm very keen on learning what else are they going to do besides the number of views, the number bought, and those badges.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just trying to drive, what is that called when, you look at the masses, and the masses are doing this, so it must be good. And so a lot of people will just, follow what other people are doing. And so they're trying to take
Pe-
advantage of that
Peer pressure, I guess.
mentality. Kind of like that. There's a
Yeah.
specific word for it, but I forget what it is right
Yeah,
now.
me too. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It, it's it's social proof basically,
Social
but
proof. That's what I was
yeah.
trying to
Oh,
think of.
okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's social proof is all they're trying to do to make you more
Yep.
comfortable to buy the product.
Yep.
I really hope they don't do away with reviews. That'll drive me nuts trying to buy products without being able to look at the reviews.
I have a theory
But
on this. I have a theory on this. So I have seen a couple of listings, and that they're testing things. One test is that they don't display the full star rating. They're only displaying a star, right? So they show 1 star, and then there's a little drop down, and which pops out that little box that shows you this percentage of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 stars, right?
yep.
And I have also seen a listing only a couple of times where there's no reviews at all. There's reviews on the product, but they're not displaying the reviews.
Mhm.
So I have to assume, because of the FTC crackdown, and Amazon knows they have gotten an enormous amount of fraudulent reviews on their website, I think that they are going to do away with reviews, at least to some degree, like maybe bury them a little bit.
Yep.
And so people have to go hunting. And so they're using this so that people will make a buying decision without then going and looking at these reviews.
Yeah.
Will they do away with reviews overall? I don't think so, because that's their own internal system on whether or not should we go ahead and let this product advertise? Should it qualify for lightning deals, for prime deals, etc.? So I don't think they'll fully do away with the reviewing system, but I do think they're going to deprecate it to a degree where they're not showing it as much to the consumers, because they know it can be completely false, and they're just trying to use other metrics to get the person to make the buying decision.
Yep. Yeah, it's yeah, they're testing it out
Yeah.
obviously to see if they can get similar sales versus by showing views and past sales versus showing the reviews. And they've been
Yeah.
trying to hide it for a while.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, and it drives me crazy because when I do a search for products on Amazon that I'm looking to buy, I always go to the filter and I click 4 stars or higher and Amazon Prime.
Yep.
And for the longest time, they've moved the star rating all the way to the bottom of the filter. So you got to scroll all the way down to click on
Oh,
4
yeah.
stars or higher.
Yes.
Unless you use that filter all the time, then it'll show like frequent filters up at the top. But if it
Yep.
doesn't show there, you got to scroll all the way down. So they've been trying to downplay that as much as possible for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, they did that with a filter where you used to be able to filter on US businesses. They completely did away with that.
Yep, need that back. But yes.
Agreed. Agreed.
So yeah, so they're definitely playing with it to see if they can get sales with that. But the point of this post was specifically don't judge your competitors off of these numbers because they're not correct
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
So it could give you an invalid impression that, wow, my competitor is getting a 30% conversion rate. I need to redo my listing because I'm only getting a 5% or 10% conversion rate, when in fact the real number could be more around 5 or 10% when all the views and proper sales are accounted for.
Yeah, you know what also makes me wonder is, you know, you used to use, so back in the earlier days, you didn't have BSR, you had sales rank, right?
Mhm.
So it was actually the rank of that. Google went over to the same thing a while back, is where are you ranking in the category overall, right? And I'm wondering if they're going to make it hard for tools like Managed by Stats, Helium 10, Jungle Scout, etc., on product research. I wonder if they're going to start removing certain data points that those tools rely upon to
Mhm.
find out what kind of sales velocity can I expect in this category. Um, and I know, and I don't use it myself very often because I'm not private label, but you've got the brand performance reports, and that gives you a lot of data now that I think these tools, if they aren't already, once again, I'm not doing a whole bunch of research, but if they're not already, they need to start using that to supplement what they're able to scrape essentially.
Well, I think if Jungle Scout, Helium 10, or Smart Scout are listening, you probably just gave them their worst nightmare if that was to happen and
It,
Amazon, cut off that kind of
agreed.
data from
Yeah,
them. But
agreed. And certainly Scott from Smart Scout, like that guy he is brilliant, right?
oh yeah.
I'm sure that that he's been watching what the data is doing, because it doesn't matter what company you are, what service you are on Amazon, you always have to pivot because Amazon is always making changes. And
Yep.
sometimes they make changes over the UK before they make them in the US, and they test it on certain servers over in the EU or the US, and it's not over there and all that kind of stuff, right? I would wager that he's keeping an eye on this. And of course, they've got a past data set that they're able to compare to, so they'll be able to make deductions
Yep.
on, they've all these companies, they've got huge amounts of data, and if they do make a change, then they'll be able to compare it to the data and go, this is what we're seeing, we think that this is the estimate here. So you used to be able to go based on sales rank, before they got rid of sales rank and implemented BSR instead. You used to
Mhm.
be able to make a very, very close estimate on sales, and now you could be tens of thousands of dollars off just
Yeah.
because you just don't have that same access to data. So it's a deduction on how much your competitor is making or how much a product line is making, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'd be pretty surprised if they cut off the flow of that data because those companies help Amazon get more sellers and do more things. But you never
ye
know if they ended up trying to take that in, like the Vine program,
yeah,
and sell you access to the data inside Seller Central. I mean, it could happen. I don't think it's
dude.
going to happen anytime soon, but it could happen.
Yeah, nothing surprises me that Amazon does. Like, do you remember do you remember that Amazon used to decrease your listing display if you were sending off Amazon traffic to it?
Hmm.
So now they're like, someone in Amazon went, "Wait, don't we want
This
people
is
to
dumb.
send traffic to our website? Maybe we should
Uh-huh.
help them." But I did some campaigns on Facebook and stuff like that a long time ago, and my sales went down as a result of driving all the traffic. So they used to slap you for that, and now they help you for it.
Mhm.
Obviously, you want to send good traffic, right? But honestly, it would not surprise me if they got rid of certain data points that these companies need, and then they're going to have to use other data points to basically kind of find X, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. X.com, Twitter? No.
No, no,
Um,
mathematical X.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch. Anything can happen in Amazon, so that's why you always gotta be
Yeah,
paying attention to the news
right.
and seeing what's going on. But
So subscribe and like to Todd's new Amazon Seller School podcast.
absolutely. AmazonSeller.school. Get on the
Nice.
mailing list. All right, let's look at this last article here, which
Let's
I
do
think
it.
is a big one.
Yep.
So Amazon faces renewed antitrust suit after appeals court decision. So this lawsuit was dead on arrival, but it's been revived. So it says the DC Circuit or the DC Court of Appeals has revived an antitrust lawsuit against Amazon, which accuses the tech giant of using its market dominance to inflate prices artificially through
No,
restrictive contracts known as minimum margin agreements.
surely not.
These agreements prevented sellers on Amazon from offering lower prices on other platforms,
Yep.
which allegedly led to anti competitive effects.
Yep.
The lawsuit initiated by the DC Attorney General's office will now return to the Superior Court for further proceedings. The decision has significant implications for Amazon sellers as it directly challenges the mechanisms Amazon uses to control pricing and maintain its market dominance. Sellers should be aware of potential changes in how they can price their products across platforms. So, great news, in my opinion, that this has been revived. And
100%.
what do you think? Do you think we'll see some changes to Amazon's pricing policies coming soon?
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, it's already been brushed under the carpet once, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I am a really big fan of this because I've been hit from Amazon for having prices lower on a website than I do on Amazon. Because if you just think about it, if you are paying the 15% referral fee, and that's now not synonymous across all categories, but on average, the 15% referral fee, you could conceivably sell your product on your own website for 10% less and still make 5% more as long as your fulfillment costs are roughly the same, right?
Yep.
So, and 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 does it make sense for a company to make more profit? You bet it. You bet it does. So, I just hope that it actually goes somewhere this time because what we see is Amazon goes, "Oh, you sell here? Cool. You have to follow our rules or we're going to ruin your business." You know, your
Yep.
e-com business on Amazon. And literally that's what they do. They go, we found this product over on Walmart or on Shopify or whatever for less, so you can't sell on Amazon anymore, right?" Uh, another similar situation is, you've been paying people to review your product and not paying us, so we're suspending your account, right?
Hmm.
Or you used a company to get the chemical compositions of your product and certify it, but it wasn't through Amazon's website where we charge you triple the price, so we're not accepting that whatever it is, that document, right?
Yep.
So all of those things are of no help to the seller, mandating the stuff like, if you want to use our platform, you follow every rule, no matter how asinine it is to a small business. It's
Yeah.
completely not okay, right? And we talked about this in a lot of the last podcast. They're literally doing things that are illegal, right?
Yes. Definitely.
So if we can have the government actually make a difference in this and make sure that Amazon is following the law, then I would love to see this go through. I think it's going to be very good for sellers. And let's be honest, just because Amazon says it's their way or the highway doesn't mean it's necessarily good for the seller or the buyer,
Mhm.
right? In fact, probably the opposite, right?
Yep.
Because once again, antitrust law, the purpose is to foster competition to create a fair market. And
Yep.
Amazon clearly does not want that. They want all the business, all the money from all the people at all the time.
Yeah, whenever someone says the government should,
Mm,
I always get nervous
mm,
because the government usually messes up whatever they should be doing.
totally.
But there's certain times when it makes sense, and I think this is one of them, assuming that the government, does it properly
Yes,
and doesn't do some, politicians get bought and paid for all the time, as we know, and things get written in a way that favors Amazon over
yeah.
everybody else, or
I
whatever the
believe
case
that's the
may be.
definition of politics if you
Yes,
look it up
for
in the
sure.
dictionary.
But it's definitely price fixing
Yep,
when I'm selling my product on Shopify for $20 and I sell it on Amazon for $25 to help cover the extra fees that I got to pay there that I
yep,
don't have to pay on Shopify.
yep.
I should be able to do that. And Amazon should not suppress my listing on Amazon because they don't like that I'm selling it for cheaper because I don't have to pay the fees. I,
Fully agreed.
a really good example is actually a product that we sold or that we sell, and we sell it on Amazon for $7.99. Not a
Mhm.
very expensive product. I think we buy it for like $1 or something, but
Okay.
by the time you add in shipping and fees and everything, $7.99, we might make $1 off of each unit that we sell, something like
Okay.
that, or 50 cents, whatever. It's
Yeah.
not much. Bass Pro Shops started selling the same product for $3.99 on their website.
Okay.
But of course, Bass Pro Shops, they sell it for whatever the price they sell it in the store, which doesn't involve, shipping
Yep.
and fees and everything else. And Amazon suppressed the buy box. And they're like, you got to sell it for $3.99 because that's what Bass Pro Shops is selling it. So I literally sent
Whoa.
them the breakdown of our pricing with Amazon fees. And I'm like, if we sell it at $3.99, we're losing $2 on every sale. I
So
can't sell it for $3.99.
okay, so hold on a second. Amazon told you need to drop your price because it's cheaper somewhere else
Correct.
rather
Yes.
than
Well,
okay, because it
they didn't
wasn't you.
explicitly say that, but they suppressed
Of
the buy
course.
box. And I'm
Yeah.
like, You can't suppress the buy box because they're selling it for $3.99. And if I got it for free, if I got it for
Yeah.
free and I didn't have to pay shipping into Amazon, I
You'd
still would
still be
lose
out a
like
buck
10
and some
cents or
change.
whatever by selling it at $3.99.
Yeah.
And they're like, too bad. Sell it
Yeah.
at $3.99.
Yeah, so I actually did a test. This kind of goes into what is Amazon willing to do to try to protect their profits, right? Or their control. So in the UK, I bought and sold a supplement that the only seller of the supplement on Amazon was Amazon, right? So I bought the supplement. I knew the owners of the company, and I just decided I'm going to go up against Amazon. Let's just see what happens. And I started making significant sales because I undercut them by a little bit. And then they undercut me.
Mhm.
And then I undercut them again. And they undercut the sale price to below what I was even able to like I would be negative profit, right?
Yep.
Because I know what they bought the units for. And the only way they could possibly make any profit is if they didn't charge themselves their own fees,
Yep.
which do they? Probably not, right?
No, definitely not.
So that just goes to show how much of a bully they are is they'll just go, "All right, cool, we'll just force you out." Right? Now I dropped my price to break even and I went from I don't know, maybe 100 units a month on this product down to 0. So
Mhm.
they just they didn't give me any degree of the buy box. You know, if you and I were selling this, that there's some sort of algorithm that says, cool, rotate the buy box between these sellers, right? Unless there's some vast difference between what we're doing. I'm selling it for $100 and you're selling it for market rate of 30, right? So they even stripped the ability for me to get my percentage of the buy box just because I was selling against them, right? So the levels that Amazon will go to basically prevent somebody from breaking their own invented rules is pretty extreme. Go back to like the Amazon Basics days where they had all the data on, let's just say, packing cubes, because I know someone that was selling packing cubes and Amazon completely shut down their business because they couldn't compete with them, right? It's just there's example after example after example over and over and over across so many different areas of Amazon that they're doing this. This is why I think that the antitrust suit, should it actually go through, it's going to be phenomenal for
Yeah,
sellers.
definitely. It's going to help a lot. And like what we talked about earlier, the increased competition, it's going to
Yes.
cause more competition because Amazon is then going to have to look at their fees and be like, okay, we're more expensive because of these fees.
Yeah.
And so we need to get those down so we can be more competitive with Shopify or eBay or Walmart. Even when they are lower percentage of sales, it's still going to force them to be more competitive because Amazon does promote themselves as being, one of the lowest costs or the best places to buy products because they're inexpensive. They don't market that as much as they used to, but they used to
That's true.
push that really heavily.
Yeah. Well, it's not real. It's not real anymore because of the fees they keep putting in place.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really hope that it goes through and
Same.
something happens to at least force Amazon to stop suppressing the buy box. I mean, I think that is just an underhanded tactic in itself, unless
Yep.
something like really crazy happens. Like this product is for sale for normally $50 and I'm selling it at 100 or 200 or 1,000, then
Yeah.
okay, maybe that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or
Then you
maybe a
get into price
$50
gouging.
product and now the price is down to 10. Maybe you suppress that because maybe that person messed up the price or there's a knockoff jump down there. There's circumstances where it makes sense to try to
Sure.
protect the consumer. But if the price in general is within a ballpark of where it should be and where it is most places, then they shouldn't be suppressing the buy box.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
going to be fun. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Unfortunately, court trials and the law system in this country, of course, can take a long time. And Amazon's going to appeal and
Yeah.
do every tactic they can to delay it for potentially years.
Yeah.
But just the threat of it sometimes can make changes happen. Like that
Yes.
happened with the reviews, right? That's the
Yep.
only reason there was no lawsuit that went through, but there was the threat of the lawsuits and they made lots of changes based on that threat.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems that the governments of the world are the only ones that have any degree of authority to make these changes, because Lord knows that the sellers have voiced their opinion to Amazon, you know?
Yeah, well, the problem is that we don't. What are we going to do? Stop selling on Amazon? Some people
Right.
have a very small amount, but that's where
Yeah.
a majority of your sales come from. So, and Amazon knows
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So
They
our
do.
voice, yeah, we're all saying it, but Amazon's pretty much like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
But when the government steps in a situation like this, they've got the power of the gun, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
if you don't do what we say, eventually men with guns are going to come and take you away. Kind of like with taxes, right? You don't pay your
Yes. Exactly.
taxes, people with guns are going to come and take you away and make you pay them or put you in jail. So,
Yeah. I just wish that in cases like this, someone just fires the gun and Amazon goes, "Oh, I've been shot," you know, and they
yeah.
go, I need to heal this wound,"
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
maybe
and
that's what this will be. Maybe this is the gunshot that
let's hope.
Amazon's like, oh, well, I guess we need to stop doing that now. And that just kind of, they won't say anything about it, probably, but it'll just kind of disappear. All of a sudden, suppression of the buy box will just stop happening. So
Yep.
hopefully
We can only hope.
we can hope,
We
you
can
know,
hope.
we can hope that seller support gets better as well, but we'll see.
You know, actually, so are you going to accelerate?
I am not. No, I would like
Okay.
to, but right
At
now with the newborn, it's
Oh,
everything's
that's
kind of
right.
on the back burner.
Yes, yes. So at the last Accelerate, they announced on the main stage something to the degree I was there for it, right? And it was something to the degree of, and seller support is getting better than ever. And if you guys need help, we are here to help you. And the whole room busted out laughing. And I do not
Yeah,
think that the person that was making the announcements understood that it was at their expense.
that reminds me of Stephen Colbert talking with the CNN reporter. Did you see
Mhm.
that?
Mm-mm.
So CNN a reporter was on Stephen Colbert's show,
Yeah.
and he's interviewing her, and he goes to her. He's like, "So over there at CNN, you guys really pride yourself for being neutral and calling it like it is and right down the middle." And all the people in the crowd started laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And the CNN reporter was like, "Was that supposed to be a punchline?" He's like, "No, it wasn't, but I guess it was."
Yeah, no laugh track involved with that one.
Yeah, so people know. I mean, they're realizing these things, and Amazon
Yeah,
should know if they don't know that everybody knows that seller support is garbage for the most part.
yeah, yeah. I think that, let's be honest, if Amazon resolved that one issue, it would pay in dividends to their sellers
Oh yeah.
because they would be more willing, and it would just be easier to operate your business.
Yep, for sure.
Let let's see if it happens.
Yeah. Well, at a minimum, hopefully the suppression of the buy box goes away,
Yep,
and we can wish upon a star for seller support to get better.
exactly.
We'll see. But all right. Well, that wraps up the seller news live this week, everybody.
Right on.
AmazonSeller.school to get on the mailing list and join us next week. Trace Fuse, if you need anything with help with your reviews, check it out for sure. But appreciate you joining me. And Dana,
Yep.
appreciate you joining me.
All right. Good to see you. I'll see you next week.
Have a great one, everybody.
All right. See ya.